You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
It's 12 noon in London, 7 a.m. in Philadelphia, and around the world it's time for Live Aid, 16 hours of live music in aid of famine relief in Africa.
Hey, all you music fans, welcome back to Modern Musicology. And my name is Alan. It gives me incredibly great pleasure to introduce to you the co-hosts on our show tonight. First, we have Rob Levy.
Howdy.
And then we have Anthony Williams.
Hello.
And we have Stephanie Seymour.
Hello.
Today, when this episode comes out on July 13, and this is a very, very special day because today is the 40th anniversary of Live Aid. I'm so excited. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about in music. And we're just going to jump in quickly. Who remembers seeing it on live broadcast? I do.
Me.
I know, Anthony, you weren't born yet.
Anthony.
I was minus 2 and 4 months at the time. I wasn't even quite yet a gleam in my father's eye.
Wow.
So out of curiosity, Anthony, because, the other three of us experienced it on the day that we weren't there in person, but we experienced it on the day that it happened. What does Live Aid mean to you, and when did you come to it, or when did you become aware of it?
I mean, I think when I became aware of it, it's hard to say. I probably would have been late childhood, early teens. I would imagine through Queen.
Yeah, probably.
That performance of We Will Rock You is pretty iconic, and I went through a massive Queen phase before I got into heavy metal. That's actually a fairly natural progression, I think, because when you hear some Queen songs like Hammer to Fall, you're not far off metal. Stone Cold Crazy is another one.
That's definite.
But that kind of made me aware that there was this thing called Live Aid. And I don't know, maybe I was also tangentially aware of it through Do They Know It's Christmas?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because
that
was Geldof as well. And then when did the DVD come out? There was a DVD. Was it 2005?
I think so, yeah. 2005.
It was 20 years,
yes.
Same time as Live 8.
Exactly.
Which I think was the first time I became aware of a lot of the performances.
Okay.
So, slow walk into it.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of the performances weren't available until that DVD. So,
yeah. And a lot of them still weren't available even when the DVD came out.
Right.
We're going to talk about some of those. So for the other two, what are your memories of seeing it on the day?
I was kind of fascinated the way they were focusing on Phil Collins flying to the different time zones. That I really remember that because it was just like, wow, he's on the Concorde and he's going to, Philly and whatever. So that stuck in my mind for some reason, just that aspect of it. I know I watched a lot of it, if not all of it. I don't really even remember, but I vividly remember that part, like him jumping around to different time zones.
I know they made a big deal out of it. Like, oh my God, he's going to perform in London and then he's going to perform in Philly. It's like,
it was
okay. He took a plane flight. We get it. But I mean, it was kind of cool.
I mean,
yeah, for sure.
As someone who flies transatlantic pretty often, I'm not sure I could drum in the morning, get on a flight for 8 odd hours, go through customs and all that bullshit.
I know.
And then get off the other end and then drum with quite the menagerie of bands, because he did Clapton,
he did.
Then he had his own set, then he was with Zeppelin.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was on the Concorde, so he probably fell asleep for a while, and then he was not. It was not like he was in business class on like American Airlines.
He wasn't with the schlubs in the back. He was.
Yeah.
He was in the nice seat.
Yeah.
There were only nice seats on Concorde. That was part of the
Mhm.
gimmick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm lucky that all the sort of big memory stuff that people talk about, like the hits, I actually got to see those. But
Mhm.
people, I think, forget that this is the time that not every American household had access to MTV through cable television.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
So I watched it for a couple hours at a friend of mine's house, and then he had to go to his bowling league. So then I went home and listened to it on Westwood One radio
Mm-hmm.
because
Wow.
they had everything.
Yep.
And then a different friend of mine had some people over, and I went over there and watched the rest of that there until I think the rest of the feed from England left. And then I came home to watch it because on ABC for most of the stuff from Philly.
Philly.
Yeah. But I did get to
Yeah.
see all the big sort of stuff I wanted to see. And I picked up a lot of stuff, since then. But that's I remember seeing it in chunks. And I remember the Westwood One feed was pretty fantastic. I ended up picking up a vinyl copy of the Westwood One recordings,
Oh, wow.
a couple years later. So I've got it all on audio. But what's really cool about it is they didn't really interrupt. So you heard a lot of the in between stuff, and you got to hear like the British announcing the British bands instead of, you got to hear Billy Connolly introducing bands instead of, MTV people and things. And then like you had a lot of really interesting artist background info on stuff too. That was kind of cool. So I do remember that. And I just remember it was like a big, big deal. I was really on board with, do they know it's Christmas and everything, but I just remember this was sort of like something every kid in the neighborhood was like, okay, where are we going to go watch this?
Yeah, I know.
And it really did shape a lot of my sort of missing pieces of my musical development at that point.
I think that I started at the beginning of the day and I watched and listened through the very end. Like I was glued. And I actually had a friend who lived like 45 minutes or an hour away who's like, Alan, I need something. Can you come help me do whatever it was? I don't even remember. And I was like, oh, not today. So on my drive there, I listened to the radio feed. And I mean, I was like, oh, I've got to get back home and not miss Bowie. I've got to not miss Bowie. And I made it. So, I was okay.
Wow.
But yeah, I know. But yeah.
I mean, the stat, it was, like 1.9 billion people saw that performance.
Isn't that
saw
insane?
It is, because, I mean, that's just, even now that would be insane. But then.
Yeah. And just so we remember what this is all about, this was organized in order to raise money for famine relief for Ethiopia, which they had been going through a horrible, hellish drought since 1983 and had just gotten worse and worse. And people were dying left and right. And there was a BBC television special, a documentary on the situation. And that's kind of the genesis of this whole thing. Geldof saw that and like, we have to do something. And that's where Do They Know It's Christmas came from. And that developed into the whole big festival. And so, yeah, I mean, it's easy to only talk about the music, and that's pretty much what we're going to focus on. But, there was a reason behind the music. And it's interesting to watch the broadcast because when you look at the behind the scenes stuff, they were talking about how the calls were coming in and there was money being pledged, but it wasn't as much as they were hoping for. And it wasn't until Geldof got on TV and he's like, if you fuckers don't start sending us money, people are going to die. And, he was just, passionate. And then they ran that like 4-minute film. And that was amazing.
Yes. And then the calls really started coming in.
Yeah. And, there were a number of artists that were either booked for the event or had expressed interest in being in the event or had been invited and ended up not performing for various reasons. And one of those was Huey Lewis and the News. And Huey had, and this is before the event, they were scheduled, they were on the bill. And Huey expressed very publicly concern over how the money was going to be managed, because they had already had money coming in from the single the previous year from
Band-Aid.
December. And he was like, I'm not sure that this is really working the way it worked. And Geldof fucking called him out, like, publicly. How dare you say that kind of thing, you know, when you're endangering our efforts to help people. And so
I didn't know.
whether they just got dropped from the bill or whether Huey walked away, they ended up not playing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Some of the ones who didn't make it are interesting. Marillion lost out,
Yes.
apparently because Fish, who was the singer at the time, refused to be on Do They Know It's Christmas.
Oh,
And
I thought
well,
it was,
his manager said no.
yes.
Yeah.
He was interested, and they asked him, and then the manager said, I don't think that it's worth his time.
Yeah. And
Oh
so
my
Marillion
goodness.
lost out on being at Live Aid.
Yeah.
Mm.
Roger.
The Eurythmics weren't there because Annie had some cold or something like that at the last minute.
Yeah.
So they were scheduled, but they weren't on.
Roger Waters asked to play, and they're like, sure, if you'll do a reunion with Pink Floyd. And he's like, no, I'm not doing that, but I'll bring my band and we'll play. And they were like, no, that's okay. And funny enough, 20 years later on Live 8, which was themed around the G8 conference and was staged just like Live Aid, but on 8 different continents, they did do a Pink Floyd reunion.
Yeah.
So it just took 20 years for it to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of get it. He was in a legal battle with the band
Yes.
at the time.
Yes.
So I can see why he didn't want to, but equally, just in general, Roger Waters is kind of a prick. So
yeah. A really interesting one to me is Springsteen, because Springsteen, Prince, and Michael Jackson were the biggest artists on the planet, and none of them were there. And Springsteen was like in the middle of the Born in the USA tour, and he had a break in July, but his last 2 shows of that leg of the tour were July 6 and 7, and Live Aid was originally scheduled to be on July 6. And they really wanted Springsteen, so they pushed it a week and made it July 13 so that Springsteen could do it. But Springsteen was exhausted and just wanted to go home and see his family for a month.
And his voice was shot too, apparently. That's one of the things they were saying too. And I think he was getting married.
He had already gotten married.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So he had kind of a new family on his hands, and he really wanted to just be home. And he later expressed regret, because he could have just come in and done an acoustic set, because they had, a few, like, in order to space out the big stage changes, they would put in an acoustic
like Crosby,
set.
Stills, and Nash. Yeah,
exactly. He could have come in and done that, and he kind of regretted that he didn't do that.
Yeah.
I also want to call out Deep Purple, who were meant to appear via satellite from Switzerland.
Oh, yeah.
And Blackmore, again, being the absolute dick that he is, said, nah.
Right.
Nah.
And of course, when it came to Live 8, Deep Purple, by which time Blackmore had left 12 years previously, did perform at the Toronto leg.
I've always said that if I had access to a time machine, if I had my own TARDIS, I would go to Woodstock, and I would go to both shows of Live Aid, because to experience both of those shows in London and in Philly, I mean, the lineup on both of those concerts is just phenomenal. And to see those shows in person, God, what an experience that must have been.
I know.
Switching back to Live 8 briefly, I'm very amused that there are bands who appeared at both the Edinburgh and London shows, as if that's a big deal, like Phil Collins appearing in London and Philly. I'm like, okay, guys.
Right.
I know the British trains are bad, but they're not that bad.
I never thought about that before.
That's cute.
All right, so why don't we talk about some of our favorite moments from Live Aid? We have all put together a list of our 5 favorite performances or bands or moments or whatever. So let's go through those, and then we'll do some other highlights too. But let's start with our 5. So we're going to start on the bottom corner, and we're going to go with Anthony first.
All right, well, I want to start with one that I don't think would be a surprise to anyone who knows me, and that's the reunion of Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Let's just set the scene here. Ozzy had left Sabbath in 79. Things were not rosy between them.
Yeah.
He'd also gone off and started his own solo career, and the publicity for that had put him very much diametrically opposed to Black Sabbath. There was lots of kind of Ozzy versus Sabbath rhetoric. Meanwhile, they did their album with, their 3 albums, including a live album with Ronnie James Dio, which were the best albums Sabbath ever put out. Fight me. A distinctly mediocre album with Ian Gillan on vocals, but Zero the Hero is a classic. Again, fight me. And then Gillan had left, Geezer left. It was Tony Iommi. He brought in Jeff Fenholt for a little bit to audition, which, if you've heard those demos, not good. Not good, Alan.
You're correct.
And what did no one expect?
Yeah.
Sabbath with Ozzy. I think my favorite story about Sabbath and Ozzy that day is, I want to say it was Geezer that said it. They were all drunk during that performance.
Surprise.
All 4 of them. But unlike before, they'd got drunk separately. That was the level of animosity. They wouldn't even have a drink together.
Shit.
They got trashed in their own areas. And
Wow.
You look at Ozzy at that performance, and Ozzy's had his ups and downs with his health, but he's bloated. His hair is that weird blonde dye job he had for a while, and yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somehow it just worked. It shouldn't have, because they all hated each other at this point in time. Ozzy was being Ozzy, but they came on, they did Children of the Grave, they did Iron Man, and they did Paranoid, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah. I mean, they sounded amazing. Everything came together on that performance.
Yeah. And that was at 9:55 in the morning, Philly time.
Exactly.
Wow.
And they were all drunk. Gonna have
All right, Steph.
Okay, I'm gonna start with something that is not in common with Rob, because we have 2 bands in common, I think. So I'm gonna go with Paul Young and Alison Moyet's
I had that.
Oh, is that a lie?
No, you're fine. Go ahead. No,
all right, we can both talk about it. So yeah, they did That's the Way Love Goes. Oh my God, their voices. I mean, first of all, Alison Moyet could just blow the roof off anything.
Yeah.
She's just unbelievable. So, and Paul Young too, like he had such a fantastic, soulful, amazing voice. So the 2 of them together, and then the backup singers, that whole thing was just like a train rolling through. I felt that whole song was just like powerful and passionate, and you could just feel, the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's weird is, when you think about this, in 1985, Paul Young was bigger than George Michael.
Oh, he was huge, yeah. And he
Every
had,
Time You Go was the last song he did, which I think had just been released as a single.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes,
that's in this moment in time in England when you're transferring from post-punk into something else, but you have all these like white soul artists in between.
Yes.
And like Alison Moyet was like doing her post-Yes thing, and she put out like soul records, some dusty covers and stuff.
Yeah.
And Paul Young, I mean, he'd been around with the Q-tips as stuff before, but still, it was amazing.
I saw him live. It's and to see him, like, he can just, it's not like that record is done up or anything. That is his voice. Like, he can sing like a mofo. Yeah. So that, I think, also honorable mention for his performance of Every Time You Go Away in that show too, because that was great.
There, at this particular time, there's a lot of these artists that I'd heard their records, and there's a lot of people here that were in other bands that I liked that were gone, so I was like never going to see them, and I knew I was never going to see Roxy Music.
Oh yeah,
but Brian Ferry was amazing. He had just released Boys and Girls, so he did a couple like Sensation and some stuff from that, and it was just phenomenal. And I was like, I was just young enough to kind of know a little bit about what was going on with glam, but not completely. And I knew that Brian Ferry had kind of had a solo career, and I hadn't heard a lot of it. And when he did his version of Jealous Guy, and the thing that's interesting too, there's a lot of bands doing Beatle covers at this time.
I know.
You've got Costello and you've got him, and but the cover of Jealous Guy was like, wow, this is great. I had no idea that was an actual song that he recorded, but that was my first exposure to like actually seeing Brian Ferry in something other than Roxy Music album covers and stuff. And it was like, okay, yeah, this was cool. So that's my number 5.
Cool.
Alan?
My number 5, you talk about somebody who can sing like a mofo, and that is Miss Patti LaBelle.
Oh, yeah.
She did a 5 or 6 song set. Only 2 songs were broadcast, like on television. And that was her John Lennon cover and her Dylan cover. And they're both amazing. And I mean, just incredible. But then when you go back and look them up on YouTube, you can find, all the stuff, pretty much all the stuff that's not on the DVD, you can find on YouTube or somewhere, Daily Motion or something. But you go back and watch the rest of her set. The first song she did was New Attitude, and she's just fucking blowing stuff away with her voice. The 4th song, which was Stir It Up, which was another single, the second single that they released from her off of that Eddie Murphy movie, whatever that was from. There was mic trouble, and you couldn't hear her voice throughout the entire song. So it's kind of a sad thing for her, but the 3 songs that you do get are just incredible. And probably, I wouldn't even say probably, it's definitely my favorite versions of Imagine and Forever Young. Just incredible performances of those 2 things.
She was great.
Yeah, one where she just leaves the microphone on the floor and she walks away from it, and you can still hear her voice.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Anyway, but
I think the Philly show was plagued with with sound issues. I really feel like they, Pretenders there was feedback. Duran Duran, which I'll talk about later. I mean, being my least favorite, they were plagued with feedback. There was just something going on.
The first song in Elton John's set, I'm Still Standing, was also terrible feedback. But I just want to say that the fact that 95% of this show went off without a hitch is incredible. I mean, the logistics of this thing coming off the way that it did is beyond belief.
Yeah, it is. Especially then you think about it, like it's, I
mean, everything could have gone wrong.
Yes.
What's interesting about the Patti LaBelle is that her version of Over the Rainbow was fantastic.
All right. Well, we got asked to pick 5, and in all honesty, there are 3 I kind of want to take in one go.
Okay.
So this is not one of those, and I do have an honorable mention beyond those 3. But the next one I want to talk about, and again, this will be of no surprise to anyone who knows me. Another of the Philly performances.
Priest.
Yeah, it was Judas Priest. That was a great show.
It was.
They came on, and somehow they ended up later on the bill than Sabbath, which, maybe I guess Priest were the big thing in metal through a lot of the 80s. Sabbath.
Yeah. They were huge. They were huge
in the US. By the mid 80s, I think in Britain, Maiden were bigger than Priest. I think in the US it was the other way around.
Yeah, I think definitely so.
I think you're right. And definitely. Because it was like MTV, like they were just huge with another thing coming and whatever, And
they came on, they did Living After Midnight, they did the Green Manalishi with the 2-pronged crown, and they did You Got Another Thing Coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
I personally, if I were them, would have subbed out probably Living After Midnight.
Yes.
Maybe the Green Manalishi for Breaking the Law.
Yeah, I think Breaking the Law would have been but they were at the US Festival in '83, and Breaking the Law was the big song that they played there. So it's possible they simply didn't want to repeat the same thing.
That's fair. I think the biggest surprise from their performance is that they didn't play anything off of Defenders of the Faith, which was their most recent album.
Mm-hmm. They went with the classics.
They went.
What was the single on that? What was the single on Defenders?
There were 3. So the first one was Free Wheel Burning. The second was Some Heads Are Gonna Roll, and the third was Love Bites.
So let me just. I don't think they. I think the ones they did at the show were more popular than those, because I don't know those songs.
And none of them were the best songs on that album anyway. They picked badly for the singles. I mean, it should have been Rock Hard, Ride Free, and The Sentinel for 2 of them. But anyway,
Sentinel, man, yeah.
And Eat Me Alive would have been a good call. Sorry, you're getting me a ADHD fantastic. My Adderall's worn off. But that performance at Live Aid, phenomenal. Just,
Yes.
They came in between Crosby, Stills and Nash and Bryan Adams. What a way to be sandwiched if you are... I mean, Sabbath had the same thing. They were between Billy Ocean and Run DMC.
Yes.
There was no regard for genre whatsoever
which is kind of cool, though.
It's very cool. But it's
like because no one cared.
Yeah. Well, when you look at the London set, it kind of ranges in a very predictable pattern where you get some good acts up front. You get Status Quo and Style Council and Sade and that kind of stuff. But then after that, it's like living legend after living legend, rock royalty, one after another. And they're all sort of like, as far as genre goes, all sort of fit together. And then you get to Philly and it's like a fucking mishmash.
Free for all.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
all over the place.
I kind of love it though.
I know. I kind of love it too.
I mean, you've literally got a part of it where it goes Phil Collins, Led Zeppelin, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Duran Duran, then Patti LaBelle.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
bonkers.
that Patti had the hardest job of the day, I think, because being in the night slot where the big headliners are going to be, she is following Clapton and Priest and Sabbath and all these like heavy bands that are like pure rock. And then she comes out and has to do her soul stuff. And I don't know. I think she had a hard job selling herself to that crowd, but I think she was phenomenal.
And they very much needed an African-American to headline in the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that she sort of had all that sort of fall on her because Stevie Wonder wouldn't do it. Michael Jackson wouldn't do it. Prince wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
James
I forgot
Brown.
Michael Jackson was still black at this time.
He was, yes. And I think whenever they were talking to Stevie Wonder about it, it was still early in the process and there weren't any other black artists. And Stevie was like, I'm not going to be your token black. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. And then they ended up with a few, not many.
They had some early on.
They had the Four Tops and they had Sade and they had Patti and, David Ruffin. And anyway, but when you're talking about a show that's supposed to be raising money for famine in Africa and not having that many black artists I think that's a really a wrong step. But anyway. Okay, Stephanie, what's your next go?
All right, because you mentioned Style Council, let's go there. Rob, we're going to have to talk about Style Council now, okay? Because that's one we definitely are sharing. I think this might be my favorite performance of the whole thing.
Wow.
I think.
Wow.
Because, just go watch Walls Come Tumbling Down. From the first note, the energy is like, they're on fire. Yeah. They're on fire. First of all, that song is just sick. It's great. It's like one of the best songs ever. And they are just so passionate and energetic and just like hyped up. And you could even see Mick's keyboard like rocking on the thing. Like he's just playing so hard that he's just like rocking. I don't know. They just kicked ass. And I mean, nobody hit a bad note. They were just like perfect. I thought it was a perfect performance. What do you think, Rob?
I went into Live Aid knowing about the Jam because I was a weird little kid.
Yes.
And I fucking love the Jam. And I was like, oh my God, it's Paul Weller, right? And I knew about the Style Council, but I hadn't actually really heard them.
I had seen them by this time already.
And there's a lot of like contrast. And I mean, there's some similar sounds in the Jam and the Style Council, but it's very much different, right? And I just sort of went into it like, okay, I got the Internationalists on cassette, but I hadn't really heard it all yet. And I knew about Cafe Blue and some of the other stuff, but it was just like they were sort of like this like nebulous thing that was out there that I never sort of got to get my hands on. And I'm just like, wow, this is fantastic. First of all, it's like you hear Paul Weller, and at least for me, impressionable little bastard, pain in the ass, obnoxious me, hearing that voice do like really great black soul music was like, this is amazing. Right. And that's sort of when I started to learn about Northern soul and sort of like how much black music, except for Michael Jackson, is really big in England. And it was like, wow, this is great. And I noticed what you'd noticed about the piano too, but I noticed too that they just, for an early part of the day, and I saw Status Quo before them. And I didn't really know Status Quo. They were the people that when I saw the Band-Aid album cover, I was like, what's the Status Quo, right? I'm like, they're okay. But like, just, they were like Style Council were just amazing. And it was just like, wow, they've got all this energy, and it's a 4-song set, but they're treating it like they're not fucking around.
They're like full on concert mode. I know.
Yeah. And I just thought that was really great. And it was probably my first musical discovery of the day.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then of course I was let down because the Boomtown Rats were after them.
Oh, that's right. They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I thought Style Council was amazing. And those first few acts on the UK stage, like I knew the names, but I didn't know anything about the band. So that was my first exposure to Status Quo. And I mean, I knew, Mondays by the Boomtown Rats. Of course, everybody knew that. But I hadn't seen them, and I hadn't ever heard any other song of theirs. But Status Quo and Style Council, I knew the names, but I never heard a song. And Style Council was amazing. And Walls Come Tumbling Down is a great song, but the one that sticks out to me is Internationalist.
That's a good one too.
They were on fire on that song too.
Yeah.
And that was their third and fourth song. They also did You're the Best Thing and
You're the
Big
Best
Boss
Thing, which
Groove.
was a single.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're
Single
the
is
Best
what
Thing. It's just like, wow, this is great. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
And that's not any, I mean, that takes a lot of chutzpah to do that one, because that's
Yes, his in falsetto most of the time, or for the chorus at least. Yeah, chorus. Yep.
I'm gonna kind of go since Anthony's kind of doing a couple. I'll just throw these two in really quick. I was really happy to see Simple Minds in Philly.
Yeah.
It's the first time they did Don't You Forget About Me, which I thought was interesting. They were sort of conquering the world with that song, and then they did, I think, Waterfront. No. Waterfront?
No, I don't think they
Promise
did.
to a Miracle. Promise to a Miracle. That
From
Ghost
Bit
Dancing
Newgold
was first.
Yeah.
They opened with Ghost Dancing and then did Forget About Me, and then.
But I just was like, wow, for being this late in the day, that dude looks really like they had a lot of energy, which I really thought. And at that particular time at the show in Philly, they needed to have a little bit of energy. They were absolutely just top notch for me, and I thought they were great. And that was also kind of an introduction. I would see them later, on the Once Upon a Time tour, and they had a nice follow. Like, this is when they got smart, because they're on. From what I remember, Simple Minds was on, and then they cut to England for Bowie, and then you got the Pretenders. I think I'm remembering that right. But I was waiting for Bowie, and I got to see Simple Minds, and I remember being very excited about that. I was also very excited about Sade. I had, like most people, I'd heard the singles and like, okay, that's it. But that is the moment I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen to every record she makes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because the voice was just amazing.
Yep.
And it was probably outside of the Style Council, the other performer that left me with, God, I want more of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So for me, this is a left field kind of pick for me, but Clapton. And now I am not much of a Clapton fan, but his 3-song set was absolutely perfect. They did White Room, She's Waiting, and Layla. So you get this overview of his career, because you get a song from Cream, you get a song from Derek and the Dominoes, and you get one of his recent hits, his solo hits. So you get these 3 big songs from all different chapters of his career, and they're all phenomenal. The band is just great. And of course, the band includes Phil Collins as one of the 2 drummers. And I think we're going to be talking about Phil's involvement in these American bands in a little bit. But I thought that Clapton, and like I said, I'm not a big Clapton fan, but I watch his set over and over and over, because every note of that set is so perfect and the crowd is so into it. And there's just a power, there's a presence about it. And I just absolutely love it.
So I'm going to do my honorable mention right now. And that in this case is Status Quo, who I feel are such a quintessentially British band.
Yes.
I don't think they really ever made it big over here in the US.
No, they didn't. I don't think.
But growing up as a kid in Britain, even in the 90s, Quo had peaked, and they weren't putting out anything new that was big from the 90s onwards, but they were still really well known. You saw their songs on commercials for department stores, for God's sake. Particularly Whatever You Want. That was always a great one come Christmas, because, a store would have whatever you wanted available to buy for your kids. So they were trotted out a fair amount. They were still very much in the zeitgeist. And so coming across them as effectively the first performance after the Coldstream Gods, the first real rock performance.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
opening with Rockin' All Over the World. Now, this wasn't as global an event as Live 8, but the fact is this happened on 2 continents. And yeah, you could make an argument that this show was rocking all over the world.
And was broadcast.
Well, it was broadcast
everywhere.
Yeah.
in 150 countries. Yeah. So it was.
I mean, they're sort of like the Oasis of their day, where they're just a fun, straightforward, no frills rock band. And opening the entire show with Rockin' All Over the World was the perfect move.
Yeah.
And I love that song.
That said, I'm going to take issue with you right now, Alan.
Okay.
I have spent years on this podcast being mocked over my secret love of Oasis.
Oh,
and now you are sitting here saying that they're just a fun band that everyone kind of likes. You bastard.
I never said everyone kind of likes them. I just said they're a fun,
I'm putting words in your mouth deliberately to give you more hell.
Oh my God. We only tease you about the Oasis thing because you make an issue of the fact that you like Oasis. So
that's fair. I mean, and to your point though, there is a similarity with Status Quo in that they are kind of dumb rock bands. They're not doing anything innovative. They're not doing anything particularly clever, unless you count Gas Panic by Oasis, which is a psychedelic masterpiece. Again, fight me. But for the most part, neither band does anything groundbreaking, but what they do quite well.
Yeah, absolutely.
One day Alan's just literally going to come to your house and fight you, Anthony, so you better watch out.
Well, that was more directed at our audience.
Yeah.
Okay, I know.
Have all these people showing up at your place, man.
You can find me at Mar-a-Lago under the pseudonym of Donald J. Trump.
That's fantastic.
So basically you're saying if you see Alan in public, just walk up and say, why don't you like Oasis, man?
Yes.
Oh boy.
So yeah, Status Quo, they're fun. They're a good opening band. And then you go into, slightly more timely bands like the Style Council, Boomtown Rats, Adamant, etc. But great way to open the show.
Yeah.
And then my honorable mention.
One song from Adamant too, which was just
weird.
You get like 3 songs from Nick Kershaw, but you get 1 from Adamant. I'm like, come on. You get 1 song from Elvis Costello.
Well, I think Elvis was there to provide a few extra minutes for them to do stage changes. Yeah. Because it was a lot easier later in the day when they're going back and forth from London to Philly, because they're alternating and you have more time to do stage sets. And I think that Elvis doing his 1 song and like Howard Jones, when he came on and did a piano song, was for that. So,
And Howard Jones was actually warming up a lot of other musicians. He was like in the back doing, him and from what I understand, him and Thomas Dolby were kind of backstage doing keys and running through stuff for people. So,
yeah.
All right, I'm going to go with the Beach Boys.
Wouldn't it be nice if you went with the Beach Boys?
She gets around.
Taking the Beach Boys gives really good vibrations.
Okay, everybody.
We all
just
got
need something for Rhonda. That's all, and then we've got all the songs. I get so much happiness from seeing that whole thing because Brian, he's still Brian. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
He's always Brian, but he's really, really sounding great. He's playing great.
Yeah. They
all sound really just fantastic in the show. And I have to say, Carl's voice it's spectacular. I mean, he's kind of my favorite Beach Boy. Like, his voice is just my favorite. When you hear him on Good Vibrations on this song, on this particular performance, I think, it's kind of mind blowing. Mm-hmm. They're just pure perfection on this, I think. And it's something that almost doesn't fit. Like, it's weird to have the way they have these bands on this Philly show. Like we were saying, it's just so random. I think some of the stuff is almost like there's really cool hip new bands, and then they have some like, people like I didn't care about at the time. Like, I have to say, some of like Zeppelin, I was like, why are they even here? there was just some of these people, and I maybe at the time I might have thought, oh, the Beach Boys are really kind of not cool right now. Why are they here?
Yeah.
But when you get some perspective on music and just like the history of things, and you learn about these bands, I think this is a real classic performance.
Yeah.
The 4 songs they do here.
And I think that 5. They did
5. Sorry. You're right. No, you're right.
I think that at that point in the day, they are just a fun band.
Yes.
And you can see people in the audience just dancing and singing along, and it's classic
bathing
songs
suits and
that
everything.
everyone loves. And I think that they just came at the right time of the day. And especially when this is the time when they're starting to go back and forth, with the UK. And so you're seeing sort of one of those classic, like I said before on another show, they are sort of like the American Beatles. And I think that you're showing the UK audience, this is quintessential classic American music. And I think it just was a perfect placement for them.
Yeah.
And they played so well.
They did it. It's amazing. Also, they had, if you notice, they had like 3 amazing keyboard players on this. It was, Bruce, who was on keyboards, and then 2 other guys, and they're all rocking out, and it's just crazy. It's amazing.
Yep. And I told you before we started recording that I considered putting them on my list, because when I went back Friday and yesterday and watched all 4 discs again and really enjoyed them. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed them. And of course the band right before them, Bryan Adams, great. Didn't make my list, but they did a great job. All right, Rob.
So I guess we'll jump into this, Alan, because I think you and I have been waiting to talk about this for a while. So at this point in my life, I'm not like Alan, where I was born with the Ziggy Stardust stuff on my face when I came out of the womb. I had only really known David Bowie through my brother's records, the radio, and MTV. I'd never seen him perform live. So for me, a chance to see Bowie live was absolutely like magical. The fact that he pulled the double duty, they had the Jagger video, and then, he does his songs, and then he does this amazingly, probably the most interesting thing that happened at Live Aid is he says, I'm not going to do a song. I want to show this video because it made him cry. And it's this video of like why they're doing this. And it's actually the famine video, and I just remember like, okay, that sort of just slammed the piano case on my fingers, right? Sort of like, okay, this is why we're here. 17-year-old me, when they're playing Heroes, I'm like, I'm losing my damn mind. You sort of like, he doesn't look, I remember being like, he looks normal. What's going on? It just sort of, that was probably one of the cornerstone moments that I like really cemented my passion for all things David Bowie.
Yep. I won't comment on that because he might be showing up later on my list.
Same.
Sorry. All right. Excellent. No, it's okay. I mean, it was the best. Okay. So my next one is going to be the Pretenders, because I am such a huge Pretenders fan. And I'm kind of disappointed that, they did a 5-song set, and the 3rd, 4th, and 5th songs are the ones that show up on the DVD, which is Stop Your Sobbing, great song, Chain Gang, and Middle of the Road, all great songs, and they sounded great. But probably 2 of my favorite Pretender songs is Time the Avenger and Message of Love. And those were the ones that weren't included on the DVD. And that's such a shame. Time the Avenger may be my favorite Pretender song. And
it's a great tune.
And it sounded so good in that performance. And I wish that their full set was included, but they were top notch, man. I just love Chrissie Hynde and Martin Chambers, fucking amazing drummer. God, incredible. So
he's like a monster in that performance, like always, but yeah.
And it's so funny, you listen to these things again, and there was some really, and I'm not saying that any of these people are doing drugs or did drugs or whatever, but as a funny thing, I will say that there was some good cocaine going around in the 80s, because every band that you saw played their stuff live blindingly fast.
fast. I know.
And
thinking that when I saw
Pretender
Hall and
songs-
Oates shows.
The Pretender songs were just like that. Everything was like you listen to the Bowie set. Fuck me, they played those songs so fast. But
Well, Alan, it's like those versions of Panic in Detroit you hear, where
I
they're
know.
sped up to the point where all that riff starts sounding metal. They didn't play that at Live Aid, but just
No.
as an example of that upping the pace for no
Yeah.
good reason other than cocaine.
No, that's funny because I was thinking about that too.
Yeah.
Like, are they just so hyped up that
Well,
and
I
excited
think-
because they're
I
playing
think
in
a lot
front of
of it is
billions of
that.
people?
I think the
Yeah.
adrenaline is absolutely there,
Yeah.
especially when you get on that stage in front of that many people. And then you
Yeah.
know that 2 billion people are watching you. I mean, the adrenaline
Mhm.
is, I think, probably the driving force in those things. Anyway, so
Yeah.
Pretenders, that's my number 3.
Well, I only got 3 more, and I'm going to take them all together because
All right,
they
sounds
play
good.
one after the other. So from 6 o'clock, British summertime, through to just before 8, you had a trifecta of fucking amazing bands.
Yeah.
Dire Straits take the stage. Sting joins them. At the time, Money for Nothing is
Oh God.
the number 1 single on the Billboard Hot 100. It peaks at number 4 in the UK. Brothers in Arms becomes the biggest selling album of the year
Yeah.
in Britain. And they're not even the best performance of these.
Right.
Da-da.
They come on stage, they do Money for Nothing. Sting joins them to do backing vocals. Fucking love it when Sting does backing vocals. There's a performance of that song done at one of the Prince's Trust concerts. It's technically a Knopfler solo performance, but he calls on Sting to do backing vocals. He's got Phil Collins on drums, and he's got Eric Clapton doing
Right.
rhythm guitar. I mean, you know you're at the peak of your powers when you can call on those people to do those parts. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about Dire Straits coming on at Live Aid, doing Money for Nothing and Sultans of Swing, and doing a blinding performance
Yeah.
before yielding the stage to something even better. When they take off, on comes Queen for that iconic Live Aid performance, possibly the most iconic Live Aid performance.
Oh, inarguable.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freddie is at the top of his game. They play one hell of a set. It's got classics. It's got Radio Gaga, which at the time was still relatively new. But it's a fucking great set. And Freddie is at the top of his game. He's at his most iconic. And I'm not sure I can really say anything that hasn't already been said by 27,000 other pundits and critics.
Yeah.
Right.
They were that's on my list too, so I'll just forego that slot. But
Right.
I think what was interesting too is like it's the same thing with Bowie. I hadn't really seen Queen before, and that is when an artist comes out and just owns every ear in the world.
Absolutely.
Is paying attention to Freddie Mercury.
Yes.
And I just remember thinking Radio Gaga is not Queen's best song. But man, that song live when everybody's clapping, I'm like, how can we not feed off of that? And what we don't realize at the time is how sick he is. For me, it's it's not just one of the exclamation points on Live Aid. To me, it's one of the greatest musical performances of the latter half of the 20th century.
Yeah.
I just think it's an artist coming out there and putting a stamp on it. And he comes out later and plays with Brian May.
Yeah.
And he's got to be exhausted, right? You know, when they come out and do "We Will Rock You" and "We Are the Champions" too, that was great. You know, the whole set from start to finish is perfect. They knew. Yeah. I think they're the only band that went in with a game plan that executed the game plan they had. The way they picked the songs, the way everything came off. Just
I think they're one of the few bands that actually tailored their set to the time slot that they're given, because they do 6 songs, but they abbreviate 3 of them so that they can get all of those things in. And and they do it in a way where they just segue from one to another. And it is just like a power punch for every song. I mean, maybe not Crazy Little Thing. That one's a little lightweight compared to all the other ones that they play. But still, it's fun and it's a big hit and people loved it. But everything else, man, it is like a punch in the face. It is powerful.
Yeah. And I think I do want to recognize here, Freddie was ill, but he didn't know.
Yeah.
he had HIV yet.
Yes.
That came a couple of years later in '87.
Yeah.
But he'd started exhibiting some symptoms.
Right.
But I think what's so powerful about this, Alan, you make a good point. Queen, for me, are probably the greatest live band of all time. Freddie and the rest of the band knew how to work an audience.
Yeah. 100%.
And they really did that here. So,
like we were saying before you came on, Anthony, it's like they're so great on this at this show, and they're almost like they're number one by far. There's nobody that can touch them, really. And then everyone else.
And then after Queen, poor David Bowie has to come on and follow that. And if anyone could do it, it's Bowie.
Yeah.
And, he plays a shorter set, but Rob's already talked about it. But just, I want to say, ending with Heroes. I mean, you can end any show with Heroes and you've just won existence.
I mean, to me, that's the theme of the day. We can be heroes just for one day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that sums the whole thing up.
Yeah.
Oh, and you see several songs like that. You could say "We Are the Champions" for Queen. We're the champions of the world. We're saving this. Rocking all over the world. There are so many songs over the course of this that could be the anthem.
And Help Me, Rhonda, of course.
Yeah,
and Help Me, Rhonda.
I mean,
no, but
Rhonda, only you can save Africa.
But this is a good segue into what I'm going to pick right now.
Very quickly, Stephanie. I do want to acknowledge just the running after Queen, after Bowie, sorry, continued.
Yeah.
I don't like it as much, but you could then go into The Who.
Yeah.
And The Who, you go into Elton John.
That's who I'm going to talk about.
And then Freddie and Brian come back on. You then have Paul McCartney with Bowie, Geldof, Alison Moyet, and Pete Townshend doing Let It Be.
Yep.
Before they wrap it up with Do They Know It's Christmas in the middle of July.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Anyway, Steph,
great.
Talk about Elton.
Yeah, so a song that could be titled appropriately, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. So this is, I think, the first time Elton John had George Michael on with him to sing this song.
Yep.
And funnily enough, I should say, Andrew Ridgeley also came out because Wham, we're huge, right? And he was singing back up. I mean, although I don't even know if they had that mic turned on, to be honest. I think the woman standing next to him who was supposed to sing with it was singing with him. Was like, yeah, whatever, dude. But, yeah, Elton John, first of all, he looked like he was having so much fun. The whole band did. They were all like smiling. And like, I think Elton John kind of loved to be able to rock out on the piano and have someone so great also singing his masterpiece song, you know? Just thought it would have been so cool if the Beach Boys came out to do harmonies on this, because they did on the record, actually. That's them singing the harmonies on the record. But, oh well, they missed that opportunity. Oh no, because they were in another country.
Yeah. I mean, they could have taken a Concorde. Come on, lazy guys.
The band was just super tight.
Yeah.
They were great. I also like the fact that George Michael sings this song so great because he doesn't tweak the melody too much. He does put his own twist on it, but I don't really like when people just fly with a song and completely do their own version of it. Yeah. I want there to be like most of the original there, and I really think he did that perfectly. So, Rob, I'm gonna let you go with this one because my next pick is U2, but we're gonna do that one together. So why don't you take that one?
Yeah, let's just both talk about U2.
Yeah.
Well, I still think
running a short.
On any normal day, if there's not Queen and there's not David Bowie, you have to think about that U2 version of Bad.
Oh man.
This is for me, I'm like, okay, U2 comes out, I'm like, okay, kind of looks all cool. He's got that really cool jacket that I still want now. He's got a really great looking jacket on, right? I'm like,
he does, but his mullet is like ridiculous.
Yeah, but you weren't thinking of the mullet. You weren't thinking. That's the last time Bono had a cool haircut. Come on, who we kidding? It's better than that stupid ponytail and With or Without You. You're just like, you want to punch the guy in the face. So they come out and do Sunday Bloody Sunday. I'm like, great, I get it, and then Bad, is just like
it's like 14 minutes long.
It's like I think it's like 12 minutes long, and you've got so you've got poor Edge and Adam and Larry have to basically keep playing this thing over the same rhythm over and over again, and Edge makes it work, and then Bono's like, screw it, I'm going in. So he goes. He's the only artist I think that really went that far into the crowd. You know,
he actually had them pick that girl out of the crowd, which is why he went down to that level. Because she said later on that she said, "I think he saved my life because she was getting crushed."
She had said that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So he, he slow dances with some girl. Then they bring there's two other girls up there, and he hugs both. He ends up kissing the other one again, and he gets back on the second stage, not the lower platform, not the main one. They bring the mic to him. But he throws every song in there. Like, ooh, he's throwing in. I loved how he started with "Satellite of Love."
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, that's ingenious. And then he ends with "Walk on the Wild Side," right?
Yeah.
It's kind of an artist sort of like, let's see who all got me here. He's got a lot of charisma, and I think this is the moment that kind of made U2 internationally. I think it really, really put them sort of on a lot of people's maps. I know I thought of them as like, these guys are interesting. They do really great "I'm Angry at You" records, but I never thought of them as like a performance band, I never thought of U2 the same way after that.
Yeah, it was a massive performance for them, like a massive groundbreaking.
And that's the big takeaway too, is that like the Edge is really at the forefront live more than he is on the records. And I'm like, damn, that guy can play.
Have you ever seen Bill Bailey's skit on YouTube? Like
yes.
If you turn the effects off on the Edge and you're left with what it sounds like.
Yep.
You check that out. I'll send it to you, Steph.
Okay.
Oh my God, it's great.
Okay. So for me, Elton, that was an incredible performance. And, it was a little bit marred by microphone problems on the first song, "I'm Still Standing," but everything after that is incredible. Benny and the Jets, my favorite version of Rocket Man that I've ever heard. All the different live versions, any cover, anything. This is my favorite version of it. And then he's introducing the band, and the whole time I kept thinking, that chick up in the back line looks like Kiki D. There's something going on, and then he's introducing the backup singers, and he's like, and this young lady here who's going to sing this next song with me. I was like, holy shit, it's Kiki D. And I Don't Go Breaking My Heart is not a song that gets played live very often. It's not one that's a regular in Elton's set. So it was a really special thing to have her there and to have them sing that song together, because it's not something that's a regular occurrence. And then, the show was running late, and they asked Elton to shorten his set, and Wham was like, you know what? We won't play, so that Elton can do his full set. And Elton paid them back by saying, well, come out and do a song with me.
Yep.
And that's where Sun Go Down came from. And just the whole thing is incredible. And the band sounds amazing. And, this is right around the time that Elton is having voice issues, and he's going to have his surgery soon. And from 86 or so, it starts to be noticeable that his voice has really changed, but he sounds great in this show.
I know,
and he
does.
Sings Rocket Man very differently than he normally does, a lot higher in his register, and it just sounds incredible. So
yeah, I agree.
It's powerful. And I will say The Who was amazing also. And you look at that. I mean, this is at a time when Roger Daltrey is 41 years old. That fucker is like a Greek statue come to life. He is the most perfect physique ever created. So I just want to say that was a highlight for me as well. The performance was great, but Roger Daltrey. Anyway.
Calm down, Alan.
Oh, yeah.
I know, right? I'm telling you.
I know, right?
You got anything else, Ant?
Nope. I'm done.
Okay. All right.
I had 5 and I did 3 at once, so I'm good.
Right. Okay.
Can I say honorable mention that I will just say honorable? I won't even say why, but Tom Petty and Madonna.
Yeah, I wanted to talk. Madonna was great.
Yeah.
This is like 1985 Madonna, so she hasn't gotten too weird yet. She's still sort of like finding her way, and she's got that's a really raw, energetic show, and you can just sort of see she's hungry for it, and you can see the talents there, and you can see the attitudes there, but it's like all really rough. And she was great.
Yeah.
And I also,
it's like kind of an iconic, performance for her too at that time.
She also did songs I wanted to hear too, so that's great.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that her set kind of stood out from everybody else as being kind of an awkward thing. Not that it was bad or anything, but it's like all these rock bands come out, and then she comes out with her little pop dance music and her backup dancers who are all choreographed, and it just looked so drastically different from everything else that was kind of
It
happening.
is definitely one of these things is not like the other kind of moment. Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So then I guess my big one is Bowie, of course.
Yeah.
He and his band, this is a band that was in the studio with him. They were working on the songs for Absolute Beginners, and he got the call about Live Aid, and he's like, hey, I know we're working on this thing, but would you guys do another project with me? And they threw this thing together, and they rehearsed 7 songs, and they narrowed it down to 5, and 5 years was going to be one of the 5 songs that they were going to play. And then they had that film that Geldof wasn't planning on showing because there wasn't any time in the schedule to put it in. And Bowie saw the film and it made him cry. And he's like, I will give one of my slots and you can play that film there. So they dropped 5 years, and they ended up with TVC-15, which is a weird choice for a song, but it was super energetic. And it's about a demon possessed television. And, you know, I don't know, maybe he's trying to possess televisions all around the world. I don't know, but it's about watching television. And then Rebel Rebel, and then Modern Love, one of the, you know, modern singles it was okay. It wasn't the highlight of the set. And then Heroes just bowls me over. There are 2 moments in this whole show that make me cry every single time that I watch it. One of them is Heroes, and the other one is Do They Know It's Christmas? Every single time I tear up. It does not matter how many times I watch it, when I watch it, it gets me every time.
Mm-hmm.
So we got let's just do a few more minutes and talk about a few like other highlights or lowlights.
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right.
The obvious one.
We all agree.
It felt like for years people blamed Phil Collins for that performance. And I know we talked about this outside of the show.
Yeah.
I think we're all in alignment. It wasn't Phil Collins. But I remember there being this perception that Phil's vanity meant that he insisted he played with Led Zeppelin as their drummer. No, that wasn't the case.
Nope.
Get out of here.
Right.
Get out of here.
It was supposed to be he and Robert, because they had done projects together. They had done live shows together.
Yeah.
He had played on Robert's albums, and Robert was like, let's just do something together. And without Phil really being involved in it, it gradually turned into a Led Zeppelin reunion.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they all rehearsed in America while Phil is over in the UK. And you can watch the performance. He is not taking the lead on the drums. He is holding back, and he is deferring to Tony Thompson. So I don't think, and even fucking Jimmy Page has publicly blamed Phil for ruining.
I know.
Yeah.
But his guitar was like out of tune
my
and
God.
stuff.
And, you know,
and he was
I went back and watched it today, and it's not a bad performance.
no, it's not horrible, but it's not.
I mean, it's not great. I think people were hoping for and wanting great, and it just wasn't great. It was just average.
Right.
And Plant just, I mean, he was okay. He just didn't sound great in all the songs that they did, you know?
Yeah.
And Jimmy's guitar solo in Stairway was sloppy as fuck. And some of it was just like, I don't even know what you're trying to play there, buddy. But yeah, it was not a great moment for them.
Also, I think another couple lowlights real quick were Duran Duran, which all know how much I love Duran Duran, but again, plagued by sound issues.
Yeah.
Total feedback going on,
Yeah.
really bad.
Yeah.
But man, poor Simon. I feel so bad for him with that note in View to a Kill. God, they called it, you know how like Freddie Mercury's was the note heard round the world, and this was like the crack heard round the world. That's it. His voice cracked so badly. Oh,
I mean, Freddie's voice cracked once.
No, of course. I mean,
You know?
look, that's why it's like it's horrible, because like that's why I don't even want to sing in public anymore, because I can't control, my voice half the time with this vocal cord thing. But that happens, and he says that was his worst moment on stage. So I totally feel for the guy, but they just did not sound. There was something going really off with their sound.
Yeah,
for that,
and I think they probably they must have had monitor issues also and had trouble hearing each other. But you know what? I will take a voice crack or anything like that and know that the music is being played live than a lot of what you get in concerts today.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
I'd rather have Led Zeppelin, knowing that they played live and it was sloppy, than to hear a note perfect performance when you know it's being done by backing tracks and shit.
The other one that I wasn't great, which, again, I love them, Run DMC. I felt like when they did King of Rock, like the stadium had some echo thing going on. So it was like their voices mixed with the music and like the scratching. It didn't seem like it was syncing up. There was a little delay almost. Yeah. It was weird.
And I love that song.
Oh God.
And I don't think that don't think it came off well in that performance.
I don't either. I think it was because of that. There was a weird delay going on.
And you talk about somebody who had a hard job to do. They were still really new. That album had just come out, and there was a lot of anti-rap sentiments in rock world. And I think they were like uphill battle.
Yeah, they were the new kids on the block for that.
At this point, too, they didn't really know how to mix hip hop. It was like,
true.
You have to mix. The sound people are. I mean, if you look at who's playing around them, it's kind of a weird mix thing.
Yeah.
So I think that was part of it too, is that just trying to mix that right. And also, they're the only kids on the block, right?
Yeah, I know. It's too bad because that's such a great song.
Talking about sound guys, I forgot to mention this earlier, but one of the reasons that the Queen performance is so great is because the guy who's running sound for the whole London show is their sound
guy. Their guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he knew how to make them sound great. I think another one of the real flubs was the Thompson twins, because they did their Beatle cover. They did Revolution, and Tom just sounded awful. Like on the choruses of those songs, he just was flat constantly. Like every time the chorus came up, he was flat. I think the melody is completely different than what John Lennon sang. And it's painful to listen to.
Yeah, kind of like what happened with Duran Duran.
I think it's great to put Revolution on your record, but I wouldn't have played that live. I would have chosen a different Thompson Twin song, especially when you got Nile Rodgers and you can make it a little funkier. Then why are you screwing around with Revolution?
Yeah.
Hey, Leah, you know what else is great? This promo for another podcast right here on the ESO Network.
Wait, Sean, this is our promo for our podcast.
Whether you're at home, commuting, or simply taking a break, we have some interesting coffee tales to share with you.
With each episode, we share
movie reviews, travel tales, relationships, pop culture, thrifting, and tons more.
We always have a fresh pot brewing for you right here on the Have Coffee, Will Travel podcast.
Okay, well, that wraps it up. Happy anniversary, everybody, to Live Aid. If you were there, let us know. If you remember seeing it on broadcast, if you've got a favorite performance from that day, let us know, and we'll talk about it on our next show. Thank you guys so much. I really, like I've said, man, I love Live Aid. I am passionate about Live Aid. So I was excited to talk about this one. Next week, as we talked about, Live Aid was 1985. In case you think we haven't talked about 1985 enough, next week is the first of two shows that we're doing wrapping up the year 1985. We're going to be talking about the best albums and singles that came out that year. And man, there is a lot to talk about. So we will see you again then. Super quick. Stephanie, where can people find more about you?
Okay, you can find me on Facebook at Stephanie Seymour Music. You can find me on Instagram under There Are Birds, _R_birds. I can't do this fast, Alan. What's up with that? I have a website, therearebirds.com, and you can find me on Bandcamp, and you can also find me on Spotify and all the streaming platforms.
All right, Amp.
All right, you can find me on the Watchers in the Fourth Dimension podcast, watching our way through all of Doctor Who from 1963 until now. We are just coming out of a hiatus caused by technology problems, but we are back-ish soon, maybe. I'm not sure when this is going out. We may already be back. We may be coming back.
It's going out the same day your episode is.
All right, we're back.
We're back.
We're back. So check us out. You can find us on all the usual places that podcasts can be found. Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah, wherever you are, you'll probably be able to find us. And additionally, if you want to follow us on the socials, we're on Facebook and Twitter. No, not Twitter. We don't do Twitter anymore. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Watchers4D. And if anyone wants to follow me personally, Instagram's the best one, at Englishman in ATL.
Rob.
Hey, I'll do this really fast without the 80s cocaine. So you can find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, and the Book of Face under my name, under Rob Levy. You can check me out on Louder Than War Radio on Mondays at Louder Than War Radio, which is on their Mixcloud page. All the shows are archived, so all 113 editions are there for you to listen to. Also, I am on the Face Radio on Monday nights, 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Thefaceradio.com. That show's called The Free Design. It's also archived. You can look that up as well. And every 2 weeks, every week, but I do a new show every 2 weeks out of Los Angeles, Eardrum Buzz Radio. I'm on that, and that is airs 2 times on Saturdays, 11 to 1 Central and 8 to 10 Central as well. If you're in Los Angeles, you just go to Eardrum Buzz Radio and listen to that there. And all of those are available on different streaming formats as well.
All right. CosmicCreative.com. KOZMIC Creative.com. All right. See everybody again in 2 weeks.
Alan had the 80s cocaine there.
That's right. Never done a drug a day in my life, but that moment right there. So we'll see you in 2 weeks when we do our first of 2 shows about the year 1985. Everybody have a great week and keep rocking on.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.